Before we start, let's have a disclaimer first. This is for educational use only. Our group grants permission for our instructor, Mr. Roldan Hardines, to use this as educational material. Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from where you're from, and welcome to our video. So today, I will open our presentation and set the direction for what you should learn. Our topic looks at the self through anthropology. Anthropology studies human beings. It focuses on culture, beliefs, traditions, and social life. It studies people across different societies and across time. In anthropology, the self does not stand alone. The self exists within family, community, and culture. Why does studying the self matters? It matters because identity forms through interactions with others. Culture shapes how you think, behave, and see your role in society. Your values, traditions, and social expectations influence who you are. Anthropology helps you understand how different groups define the self in different ways. This understanding builds awareness and self-respect for cultural differences. Ask yourself this: would your idea of yourself stay the same if you grew up in a different culture? So our discussion follows three learning objectives. The first is Learning Objectives 1.8. This focuses on different representations and conceptualizations of the self from anthropological perspectives. Here you will learn how cultures define identity. Some cultures focus on independence, while others focus on strong ties to family and community. In many societies, the self reflects shared roles and responsibilities. The second Learning Objectives 1.9. This compares and contrasts how the self appears in anthropological perspectives. How similar are these views? How do they differ? You will compare how societies understand identity, belonging, and social roles. And the last is the third one, Learning Objectives 1.9.1. This continues the comparison of the self across anthropological views. It deepens your understanding of how culture shapes behavior and relationships. That will be our learning objectives in this discussion. Before we move on, think about this. How much of who you are comes from your culture? By the end of this presentation, you should understand what anthropology is. You should understand why studying the self matters. You should also understand how culture shapes identity. This prepares you for the next part of our presentation. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Ezekiel Bagyo and we're here to discuss about the self in anthropology. So first, anthropological view of the self. In anthropology, the self is not just about personal thoughts or feelings, it is shaped by culture and society. This means who we are influenced by our traditions, family, community, language, and beliefs. The self is formed through our interactions with other people. The second one is the self as culturally constructed. Anthropologists believe that the self is culturally constructed. This means our identity depends on the culture we grew up in. For example, in some cultures, people value independence and personal success. In others, they value family, cooperation, and community first. So how a person sees themselves depends on cultural norms, on social expectation. The third one is the difference between anthropology and psychology. So we talk about anthropology. Anthropology focuses on how culture and society shape by the self. It looks at groups of people and cultural practices, while psychology, on the other hand, focuses on more individual mind, like emotions, personality, behavior, and mental processes. In short, anthropology is self-shaped by culture and society, while psychology is self-shaped by individual thoughts and mental processes.
Hi everyone, my name is Gerald Idamoso and I am representing the Group 3. Today, in my report, I will discuss the self and person based on contemporary anthropology. The self is not only about our personal thoughts and feelings. It also shaped by society, culture, and the people around us. Who am I today is influenced by my family, friends, community, and also my experiences in my life. Because of this, the self is not something fixed. It changes as we grow, learn, and interact with different people. I also explains that the self is relational. This means we cannot fully understand a person without looking at the relationship. Our identity develops through our interaction with others. For example, I behave differently at home, at school, and with my friends. So, these situations and relationships affect how I talk, act, and make decisions. So, this shows that our sense of self is connected to the people and also people around us, not formed alone. Another important part of my topic is social roles and personhood. Each of us has roles in society, like being a student, a child, a friend, or a community member. These roles that we have expectation that guide our behavior. Through these roles, we learn responsibility and how to act in different situations. Personhood is not just about being an individual, but also about being recognized as part of a group and having a place in the community.
The implicit self is a part of ourself that works unconsciously. It's our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that happen automatically without us thinking about them. We don't plan this action because they are already learned through experience. Many of our unconscious behavior are shaped by culture and socialization. From a young age, we learn how to act by observing our family, schools, and community over time. These behaviors become habits and we perform them naturally without realizing it. For an example, in Filipino culture, we say po and opo when talking to the elders. It's something we do automatically as a sign of respect. Another example of is manopo, which we perform without being told because it is part of our upbringing. Also, being polite and avoiding direct of confrontation shows how culture influence our behavior.
I will discuss the concept of explicit self, which is all about how we understand, describe, and express ourselves consciously, unlike the explicit or unconscious aspect to our personality. The explicit self is what we actively know about ourselves and can articulate. It involves self-awareness, self-description, and communications, all essentials for shaping our identity and interaction with others. First, the meaning of explicit self. The explicit self refers to the part of our identity that we are consciously aware of. It is the I that can reflect on personal traits, beliefs, and experiences. This self is deliberate and observable. It's the part of us that can answer the questions like who am I or what do I value. Next, conscious self awareness. This is the ability to recognize our thoughts, emotions, and behavior in the present moment. For example, when we notice that we are feeling anxious before our presentations or proud of our achievements, that awareness is the part of the explicit self. Conscious self awareness allows us to control, evaluate, and guide our actions, making us active participants in our personal growth. Finally, self description through language. Language is a powerful tool for expressing the explicit self, which we talk about our hobbies, goals, or personal beliefs. We are using words to communicate who we are writing, speaking, or even social media. Posts can reflect our explicit self, giving others a clear understanding of our identity. This expression strengthens self identity and connection with the world around us. To end my discussion, the explicit self reminds us of the importance of truly knowing who we are. Through conscious self-awareness, we become more mindful of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. And through self-description using language, we are able to express our identity, values, and break clear to others. Understanding the explicit self is not just about self-knowledge. It is also about growth. The more aware we are of ourselves, the better we can improve, build confidence, and create meaningful relationships. So let us continue reflecting on who we are, expressing our self-honesty, and embracing our unique identity.
I'll be explaining the egocentric self. There are three. The sociocentric self, and cultural comparison. So, egocentric self has a focuses on the individuals and values independence, personal goals, and self-expression. And common in Western cultures or U.S., Europe, it's common from the word common in Europe. Sociocentric self, it focuses on a group. For example, a family or community, or what else? And it values interdependence, harmony, and shared goals. And common in Filipino, as me, I'm a Filipino, born Filipino, it is common for us to focus on the group, community, and yeah. And cultural comparison, Western culture, and I am unique, independent. As like me, I will consider mine. And then Filipino and Asian culture, I am a part of a group. We come first. So, as like me, I am a Filipino, then I am a part of the group. So, thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Windsor John P. Bangan, and today I will share my reflection. I believe that who am I today is deeply shaped by the culture I grew up, and especially Filipino culture. Culture affects how I think, how I treat people, and how I make decisions in everyday life. Growing up in a Filipino family, I was taught to respect by saying po and opo. And for me, that's true. The side of respect by saying po and opo. Filipino culture is also very family-centered. I was raised to put a family first, help with responsibility, and stay close to relatives. Because of this, my identity is not just about being an individual, helping each other. Other Filipino values like bayanihan or helping one another me to be cooperative and supportive. Utang na loob or gratitude reminds me to never forget those who helped me to succeed. Never forget people who.
So that concludes our video in today's discussion. Before we end, let's bring everything together and have an end discussion. We talk about how anthropology explains the self as something shaped by culture and social life. We saw how identity forms from family, community, and daily interaction. We explained the explicit self, which guides behavior without awareness, and the explicit self, which we express through words and reflection. We also compared egocentric and sociocentric views to show how different culture shapes identity in different ways. This topic helps you understand yourself better and helps you respect how you see others. That's why studying the self from anthropological perspective matters.